Ben took a bite of his burrito, studying me in that quiet, knowing way of his. Well, if that fiancé of yours doesn't appreciate you, that's on him. I'll say it again, he's a fool. Any man would be lucky to have a woman who can fix a car before breakfast and still bake pies in the evening. The mention of Jake's name, though Ben hadn't said it, made something twist in my chest. We're not talking about him, remember? Let's just drink our coffee. Ben held up his hands in surrender. For a few minutes, we sat on overturned buckets, sipping coffee, pretending life was simple. But it wasn't. Not since that night a few weeks ago when 2 pink lines appeared on a little plastic stick. Not since Jake stopped answering his phone. And not since the fear crept in that he wasn't coming back. Nobody at work could know. Armin, the owner, was strict and unforgiving. One hint that I was pregnant and he'd find a reason to fire me. And I couldn't lose this job. The dispatcher's voice crackled. Amber, you're up next. Client downtown, 20 minutes. I tossed my cup and climbed into my cab. Ben called after me. Eat something more than coffee today, will you? I waved, forcing a smile. As the engine roared to life, I whispered to the tiny passenger no one else could see. It's just you and me, kid. We're going to make it. Driving gave me time to think about how I'd ended up here. I grew up in Fort Collins with my grandpa, Hank Bennett, after my mom died when I was 5. Grandpa taught me to fix cars, change tires, and believe I could go anywhere. That belief led me to Denver after high school, where I worked in a diner and met Jake Miller. He was charming, attentive, and before long, we were living together. When I told him I was pregnant, I expected joy. Instead, he froze. You're sure? Then came the accusations about birth control and the cold silence that lasted for days. When I finally saw him again, he was with her, Vanessa Brooks, the kind of woman you see on magazine covers. I'm pregnant, Jake, with your child. We need to talk, I said. Vanessa laughed softly. Sweetheart, you need to move on. Jake has. Jake didn't deny it. Instead, he told me to get rid of it. My hand moved before I thought, slapping him hard. You coward, I whispered. That night, alone on my bathroom floor, I almost called a clinic. But pressing my hand to my belly, I whispered, I can't lose you, too. I stopped showing up to work, barely ate, and felt the loneliness swallow me whole, until Ben knocked on my door. He and his wife, Carla, listened to my story. We'll help, Carla promised. And something inside me cracked open, letting light in. Ben suggested I drive a cab. At first, I thought it was ridiculous, but soon I was standing in Armin's cramped office, agreeing to start the next day. The work was hard, the hours long, but it kept me moving. And slowly, I began to feel proud. One rainy night, I was sent on a long-haul fare that fell through. Frustrated, I headed back toward the city, until I saw a figure stumbling out of the tree lean. A tall man, filthy, bloodied, and collapsing on the asphalt. I hesitated, but couldn't leave him there. I got him into my cab and drove straight to the hospital. He mumbled one word, Liam, before passing out. The next morning, 3 men knocked on my door, 2 bodyguards and a man in a tailored suit. You saved my son last night, Liam Carter, the man said, placing an envelope thick with cash on my counter. You didn't hear anything unusual from him, did you? It felt less like gratitude and more like hush money. When I went to the hospital to check on Liam, I was told he was in a medically induced coma. A nurse named Grace pulled me aside. He's not in a coma. They're keeping him sedated. Someone doesn't want him awake. I tried to walk away. I was pregnant. I couldn't get involved. But 2 nights later, I was helping Grace wheel Liam out the back of the hospital and into my cab. At my apartment, Liam told me the truth. Gregory Carter, his stepfather, was trying to steal the controlling interest Liam's real father had left him in a hotel chain. Liam would inherit it on his 25th birthday, next week. Gregory had him kidnapped and beaten when he refused to sign it over. You're not going back there, I told him. Not while I'm breathing. We went to the district attorney, who moved quickly. Within a week, Gregory was in handcuffs, glaring at me. This isn't over, girl. For you it is, I said, my hand resting over my belly. When the dust settled, Liam came to me, not with money, but with a simple request. I want to be part of your life, your baby's life. If you'll let me. Liam stayed. He came to prenatal appointments, built the crib, and never once made me feel like a burden. We didn't label what we were, but when he smiled every time the baby kicked, my walls began to crumble. When labor came, Liam stayed calm. Hours later, I held my son, Noah Bennett. Liam stood beside me, eyes shining. Days later, he proposed with a simple ring. I said yes. Life wasn't perfect. There were sleepless nights, colic, and bills. But Liam never wavered. He changed diapers, soothed Noah, and whispered promises only a father could make. 3 years passed. Noah grew into a lively toddler. Our home was full of laughter, and Liam had turned his family's business into something good. One day, we walked into a travel agency and came face to face with Jake. He barely recognized me, no longer the broken woman he'd left. When he asked if Noah was his, I said, simply, "No, this is my son, Noah Bennett Carter, and this is my husband." Outside, Liam asked if I was okay. I smiled. "Yeah, actually, I am." That night, watching Liam and Noah chase fireflies, I thought of the woman I used to be, the one who believed happiness was for other people. She was wrong. Happiness is something you build piece by piece. And I wouldn't trade this life for anything.